1. In developing a CSS compliance curriculum, which instructional method best ensures deep retention of complex sanctions concepts? A. Rote memorization. B. Scenario-based learning. C. Passive lecture. D. Multiple choice quizzes only. 2. When evaluating learners in a Certified Sanctions Specialist program, which measure demonstrates higher order thinking? A. Identifying acronyms. B. Explaining regulatory frameworks. C. Memorizing definitions. D. Listing geographic regions. 3. What is the most effective mentoring approach when guiding junior compliance staff on sanctions application? A. Directive instruction without feedback. B. Collaborative case analysis. C. Assigning reading materials only. D. Providing final answers immediately. 4. Which adult learning principle should drive CSS training design? Learners resist autonomy. B. Adults learn best when content is relevant to their roles. C. Learners require passive instruction. D. Adults thrive only on standardized tests. 5. In sanctions compliance evaluation, formative assessments are best used to A. Penalize learners for errors. B. Monitor learning progress and adjust teaching. C. Replace final examinations. D. Focus only on memorization. 6. What communication strategy ensures clarity when explaining sanctions regulations across departments? A. Use of unexplained acronyms. B. Simplification with real-world examples. C. Technical jargon without context. D. Emailing lengthy legal documents. 7. Which tool most effectively evaluates practical application of sanctions knowledge? A. Written essays. B. Case simulations. C. Multiple choice quizzes only. D. Oral recitation. 8. A curriculum for sanctions specialists must prioritize A. Linear memorization of rules. B. Integration of compliance with organizational goals. C. Avoidance of practical examples. D. Exclusive focus on penalties. 9. Which mentoring technique encourages critical thinking in sanctions compliance? A. Encouraging reflective questioning. B. Providing exact answers without explanation. C. Limiting discussions to definitions. D. Repeating identical training exercises. 10. In CSS regulatory training, evaluation rubrics should primarily measure what? A. Ability to recite sanctions lists. B. Application of knowledge in decision-making. C. Attendance at all sessions. D. Memorization speed. 11. When addressing diverse learner backgrounds, a CSS trainer should A. Deliver identical lectures to all groups. B. Use varied instructional strategies. C. Ignore prior experience of learners. D. Avoid discussion of practical cases. 12. Which compliance-focused assessment type emphasizes workplace performance? A. Peer role-play assessments. B. Standardized aptitude tests. C. Short answer factual recall. D. Crossword-style puzzles. 13. To foster knowledge transfer in sanctions learning, trainers should A. Link new knowledge to real compliance cases. B. Focus only on abstract theory. C. Discourage contextual application. D. Assign memorization exercises. 14. Which communication method is most effective in sanction-related crises? A. Ambiguous statements. E. Clear, concise, and consistent messaging. C. Avoidance of sensitive topics. D. Overly detailed legal references. 15. When mentoring staff, sanctions experts should emphasize A. Active problem solving. B. Memorization drills. C. Minimal interaction. D. Passive observation. 16. What evaluation approach ensures continuous sanctions knowledge improvement? A. Feedback cycles and reflection. E. Final exams only. C. Memorization contests. D. One-time multiple choice test. 17. Which instructional design best engages adult learners in sanctions compliance? A. Task-centered learning modules. B. Passive note-taking. C. Repetition of identical slides. D. One-way lectures. 18. In sanctions training, role-play exercises primarily improve A. Memorization. B. Communication and decision-making skills. C. Note-taking abilities. D. Lecture comprehension. 19. Which principle underpins effective adult learning in compliance contexts? A. Practical relevance of content. E. Arbitrary content delivery. C. Minimal learner participation. D. Instructor dominance. 20. A sanctions compliance mentor should prioritize A. Building learner independence. B. Withholding feedback. C. Avoiding real-world scenarios. D. Relying on legal jargon. 21. Which feedback style best improves sanctions training outcomes? A. Timely and constructive. B. Delayed and vague. C. Minimal and generalized. D. Strictly punitive. 22. A compliance trainer evaluating sanctions case studies is applying A. Summative assessment. B. Performance-based evaluation. C. Passive learning review. D. Memorization check. 23. To reinforce sanctions compliance principles, trainers should A. Incorporate interactive case workshops. B. Avoid practical exercises. C. Focus on abstract rules only. D. Use lecture slides exclusively. 24. Which evaluation method best reveals gaps in sanctions comprehension? A. Self-reflection journals. B. Attendance tracking. C. Silent observation. D. Memorization quizzes. 25. Effective sanctions training aligns with regulatory compliance by A. Applying laws to operational contexts. Avoiding workplace integration. C. Repeating unrelated examples. D. Minimizing contextual analysis. 26. Which mentoring behavior models compliance leadership? A. Demonstrating ethical decision-making. E. Avoiding learner involvement. C. Focusing on memorization drills. D. Delivering abstract lectures. 27. In sanctions compliance, formative assessments are most valuable because A. They guide instructional adjustments. B. They eliminate the need for training. C. They only test factual memory. D. They replace workplace application. 28. Which adult learning technique increases sanctions retention? A. Problem-centered approaches. B. Passive lecture methods. C. Disconnected memorization. D. Non-contextual exercises. 29. CSS trainers evaluating compliance simulations focus on A. Practical application of sanctions knowledge. B. Attendance rates. C. Note-taking ability. D. Memorization of terms. 30. A sanctions compliance curriculum must balance A. Theory with real-world practice. B. Memorization with limited context. C. Exclusive reliance on reading. D. Avoidance of case studies. 31. In regulatory compliance communication, clarity is improved by avoiding unexplained technical terms. E. Using ambiguous references. C. Employing excessive jargon. D. Limiting communication to email. 32. Which evaluation method validates workplace sanctions training? A. Observed role-play performance. E. Crossword puzzles. C. Short factual quizzes. D. Attendance records. 33. Effective mentoring of sanctions specialists requires A. Encouraging reflective practice. B. Minimizing critical dialogue. C. Avoiding workplace examples. D. Relying solely on textbook content. 34. The most effective sanctions training feedback emphasizes A. Practical application. B. Delayed responses. C. Generalized praise only. E. No corrective input. 35. Which instructional strategy ensures adult learner engagement in sanctions compliance? A. Interactive workshops. E. C. Repetition without context. D. Reading aloud lists. 36. Summative evaluations in sanctions training are best for A. Certifying overall competency. B. Monitoring daily progress. C. Providing formative feedback. D. Adjusting lesson delivery.